You want to sit here? Yeah. Sure. Thanks. Yeah, that works. Thank you.
Are you ready, online?
You are good to go.
Okay, so we're gonna call the Board of Education meeting to order at 6:31. And we're gonna stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation. Hey, we'll do roll call. Dick, you want to start?
Yes.
Please.
Nick Tombrowski.
Nicole Lindsay McGrath.
Vinny Gedabella.
Joe Matasovich.
Debbie Sherman.
Mike Kusa. Steve Pelzer.
Okay, we just,
Shelley Nancy Castellat.
hi Shelley.
Hi.
We just have one amendment to the agenda. It says new agenda item, but it's the snowplow bid, which should go under the action item. So we'll do that when we get to number 7. Make a motion to amend the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against, abstain, motion carried. We have the approval of the minutes from September 12th. Make a motion to approve the September 12th regular Board of Education meeting minutes.
Second.
Discussion. These were the minutes that we tabled last time, so we just made the necessary corrections to format it the way we would normally format. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstain? Motion carries. Staff recognition?
Yeah, okay. If I can invite Peter, you could come up here. Yeah. So many of you know that last month we had a little bit of an issue. We had a light that began to spark in the cafeteria. The 2 women in the soccer program immediately notified Peter. And there's 2 options: you have an emergency, fight or flight. And what Peter did is he didn't make a phone call and rush out to try and solve something. He actually ran right into harm's way. And he went running down to the cafeteria, grabbed a fire extinguisher, and he put out the fire. And by his fast actions, he was able to prevent a lot of extra damage that could have taken place. Now, this would have been a lot worse if this took place during lunch. The fact this took place before school, he really minimized the type of damage of the fire. People showed up and they took a look what happened. They said the fast response that Peter had really significantly saved a significant amount of damage to the facility. What ended up catching on fire was basically just the table and the chair. And we had to throw out some food, but other than that, the exhaust, the fact that it got put out so quickly in the way that it didn't get sucked out to the rest of the building, we were able to open school on time. So Peter, your fast action really saved the day, and when our staff do good deeds, they should get rewarded. And I have 2 things for you tonight. One is a certificate of appreciation for putting yourself in harm's way and for saving the day and saving this school that morning, and really appreciate you doing that. Awesome. That's for you. And the second is 2 years ago, I started a program where I'm honoring every staff member for being a staff member of the month. And I thought that your actions last month really set the motion in terms of what we want our staff to do, which is really going above and beyond. Sometimes it's putting yourself in harm's way, and sometimes it's doing the best for kids. And I really commend you for what you did. And so I'm honoring you as our staff member of the month of the district for September. Thank you very much. Got some colleagues here tonight to celebrate with you, and I know you have family here, and we really appreciate all that you've done and do for the district every day.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, maybe not. Thank you, Peter, for everything.
Thank you. Okay, audience of citizens, would anyone like to address the board? Bye, thank you. Anybody have any questions or want to ask any questions?
I'll go. I'm back. No.
I was wondering why you were here.
Well, no, it's been a busy year, of course, and it's school year, I know, up at the high school has gotten off to a very good start. I was telling your board members that, the students are loving the iPads that we brought into the graphic designs, that's all they want to use. And, you know, they have to, you know, learn how to use them correctly, and, it's kind of hard to hold them back from their eagerness, but, I think that, even with the schedule, where we, you know, some of the other classes, the core curriculum is hitting bumps in the road about how to keep the kids. Arts are probably the easiest, because we were always a more active class anyways, and the kids could get up and walk around, they could talk, and. But whereas you have the sciences and things like that, they're finding it a little bit more difficult to keep the kids' attention span. Probably would have to be hard to keep my attention span to study on a statue, because I'm just all over the place. But the kids seem to be happy, and the staff seem to be happy, and I was telling Mr. Miller, I go, it's out of all the years I've worked in the system, it's one of the years that I saw a lot more smiles on teachers and students' faces this year. And it made me very happy, and I love to be happy. So it's like, it just was a nice atmosphere. And so I hope it keeps on going. And another thing I wanted to bring up is the veterans, dinner with military. And that's gonna be November 10th, and we've got the schools involved so far, all the schools, I'm popping up posters every place, and kids are doing things, and we'll have kids there. I also have a Boy Scout troop coming, to be welcoming the individuals. Now we just need the individuals. So, I get kind of nervous when I see two people signed up, and one of them is my niece, you know, because I tested the QR code to make sure it was working. But I, you know, spread the word, and I was down the American Legion this weekend, talking to actually a lot of people that live in the town, and even a widower that was there, and I says, come, honor your husband. I go, this is what it's all about. It's not just about those. When you have somebody in the military, it's the entire family that gives up something. And I know that just from my niece and nephew joining, you know, my grandniece grew up 2 years without her mother because she was stuck in Guantanamo Bay and she couldn't see her grow up. So it's like, if your family it also pays and gives. So I just try to pass that word around to everybody and get them to come, because I think this is one thing Oxford's known for, is using the veterans to educate our students, and they're willing all the time. I've never met a veteran that said no. And granted, the American Legion has gotten smaller, but they do terrific educational programs there. So I'm hoping that we can get back to all of that. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. If you need anything from us as far as help for that night,
I
please let
think you
us.
should put your aprons on.
Okay,
Come on over and serve, or just talk to people, and we got a lot of people in communities to give gift certificates, so we can have just a raffle to give out these gift certificates, and it's all from businesses in town. So it's really, and all the food is gonna be donated by Olive Garden.
nice.
So they're giving me everything.
That's wonderful. Thanks for organizing and thanks for putting it together.
It's
with
gonna be
everybody.
a lot of fun. I can see it.
Okay, any board correspondence?
Can I-
Oh, sorry.
So I'm a veteran, so, oh, and I didn't have any, I had no clue. Do
Okay.
you mind if I ask for?
No,
more?
absolutely. Go right ahead.
We
I just-
sent it home in one of I know the high school had it in theirs, and I believe Mr. Miller put it on his page.
Okay,
But it should be right on, if you go on to Oxford Public Schools, it's right on the front page. Just scan the code, tell me how many people are coming. You can get food to go, whatever you would like, and we have 2 seats.
I can send you the
is there
information.
any way, I mean, I don't really care about free food, is there any way that I can help?
No, we want to give it back to you guys. This is a time, we had the firemen come in. This is time to give back to you guys, because you've always helped, and we want to give back.
Great, thank you.
I can send you the link as well
Thank you.
from one of the newsletters. So, no problem. Anybody else? Right. Molly?
Molly Smith, 24 Goodhill Road. I just want to share my appreciation for the superintendent's parent committee. It's going really well. It's really helpful. I feel like we're having civil, honest conversations that are this is true. And it's nice to not hear static and have to figure out everything. It's just, it allowed me to attend a board and finance meeting that actually went well. Because I knew to attend it, because I heard about it, so I knew to go, and making sure that the town is being just as accountable for the needs of our school system is really important.
Yes.
I don't mind going to those meetings. It's a little scary and I need sage after. But I can do it. But it's informative, and it's nice to know that people are really aligning with schools and what we need and what's best for our children. So thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to do it. I know it's a lot, so we appreciate it very
I
much.
just bring it with me now.
Can I say one more thing?
Of course you
Sorry.
can.
Because you guys know I do the CPR training for anybody that needs it in our system. But when I was doing it for 2 of the nurses, last month, I noticed their oxygen tanks have not been inspected, and they're from ages ago. One of them, I don't think I even saw an ambulance corps back in the 80s. That's how heavy one of them is. And the gauge is broken on another one. And to go along with our theme about safety, I've been in situations on the ambulance because we were all volunteer back in those days. And when we got to a call one time, we didn't have our main oxygen tank. And that puts me between a rock and a hard place. I'm still gonna do what I can do. But then, we thought quick, we grabbed all our little portable ones and used the portable ones, and everything worked out fine that time. But that O2 can help save a life. And we also I talked to somebody from, we had that great assembly today, about opioids in our system. And it was, I could probably count on one hand about how many students were distracted during that whole assembly, and we had the whole school in there. And it took what made kids think. And that's all we want them to do, is think and how they can help. But we also had Narcan pens that were going to be outdated this month. We are getting those updated. They're gonna help me out about getting them to the schools. So that's taken care of, but the oxygen and the oxygen masks, they wear out after a little while. So even if we don't use them, we do have to switch them out.
I'll talk to you tomorrow on the fair where we need to.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Pam. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. I don't want to miss anybody. Board correspondence, Mike?
None at this time.
Okay, moving on. School improvement.
I'd like to invite our 2 principals from Baker Farms and Red Oak Elementary School, and they're actually gonna do something a little bit different this evening, since a lot of our goals are very similar. They're gonna rather than say the same thing twice, they're gonna tag each other, and combine. There's still some school specific stuff they'll talk about, but they're gonna kind of combine their reports to this evening. They're welcome.
Welcome and thank you.
Thank you. We talked about doing this together because Rachel and I are working very closely with the new programming we have with Science of Reading and other ongoing initiatives that we really want to strengthen the alignment from K through 5. So as I'm sure you've noticed, our plans are very similar, and we have been communicating quite a bit along with our staffs to really build this alignment. So I'm going to start with goal 1, increasing academic outcomes for all students. Both schools saw a beginning of the year trend where our iReady scores started off a little higher in each grade level than they did last year. So if we continue to monitor that growth, use all of our data, not just iReady, but the curriculum assessments that teachers are giving to inform our instruction, we're on a good trend to maybe even surpass our growth from last year. Literacy. I know you were introduced briefly to DIBELS last year. This will be our first full year using it, beginning, middle, end of year benchmark. So that really is a great piece of data that kind of helps us triangulate with other assessments. It focuses on the foundational skills. So when we see trouble there, it lets us look at other assessments and figure out, is the trouble really with those foundational skills? Or are there other things going on? So that will be data that'll be interesting to watch throughout the year. We expect to see the students that are in need of support or below benchmark decrease, and the students that are at benchmark or above improve. And that ties in with our science of reading training that's going on. And HMH, as I know, Eric has spoken a little bit about, we have a meeting on Friday with a data specialist there. There's a ton of really good data that we can get from the system. What we're struggling with right now is their reporting is not super user friendly. So we're finding that we're having to take some of that data and create our own, but they have assured us that they have specialists that's going to meet with us on Friday to help streamline that. So then we'll be able to start showing you some of that data. The teachers are already using it. They're using it when they meet as teams, when they meet with us, when they meet with their coaches and interventionists. We just don't have a pretty report to share with you right now. Some strategies that both schools are using to focus on these academic outcomes. We are engaging in a curriculum unit or a unit analysis after each unit in IM math and the new modules for HMH. It's especially important with HMH because it's such a new program for us. So teachers, after they finish teaching a module, are really engaging in what went well, what standards did I feel were taught really well and I had enough resources for, where did I feel it was lacking, what are the challenges, what are our next steps. So that information informs what we're doing the very next day in the classroom, but all of that information also then goes back to the curriculum committee to help guide future curriculum work. It provides that kind of ongoing feedback loop. We are engaging staff in UDL along with the district goals. Because we also have the new program, we're doing it more through the lens of the new program. So what does decreasing barriers and increasing access and engagement look like with the HMH program? So that makes it a little bit easier for teachers to take on 2 new things at once. Continue and improve collaboration among our teams. That includes special ed teachers, coaches, interventionists, anybody on the SRBI team, as well as the grade level teams meeting. And they are very open to learning from each other. I actually had a 3rd grade team that I met with today ask for coverage so that they could visit each other's classrooms and see what each other is doing that's working well. So there's that attitude of wanting to get better with our peers. And some personalized professional learning through PDEC. We have a district plan, but we're also working with our building teams to determine what parts of HMH and science of reading they really need the most, so that we're making sure they get those specific pieces and we're not guessing what they need. And that SOAR training is going to be super important. We have excellent teachers, but there's a lot of science behind reading, and sometimes it's hard to translate that knowledge into what it actually looks like in the classroom. So making what we know are the best practices really come alive and easy for teachers to do day to day is our focus for this year. Thank you.
So what I passed around was what Amy was discussing about the module. So that will be completed at the end of every HMH module, as well as the mathematics unit system. So that will be very helpful in us creating our curriculum, as well as reflecting on things that work, especially with HMH. This is our first year, and just kind of, really noting things that went well, things that didn't go well. So that's what the framework looks like for both ELA and mathematics. I thought it would be easy for you guys to view it as well. So I brought some artifacts.
Thank you.
I know Amy just went for goal line. I just wanted to state that Amy has been absolutely wonderful to work with. So kudos to the board of ed, as well as Dr. Miller and the committee. I have really enjoyed working with her. She's just done a phenomenal job, and I really appreciate all of her hard work, and the collaboration between the two of us has just been great. So it's really nice for me being in the district for so long. I just feel like we have a really great relationship, and Oxford is very, very lucky to have her, especially those. So we officially welcome our board meeting, but it's just been, it's just been, it's just been wonderful. So I just can't, I don't have enough words to say about Amy, and it's just really nice to have someone to collaborate with. So kudos to all of you. Amy, you're a
That's
gem.
so great
You're a
to
gem.
see and hear, so we
She's a gem.
appreciate that.
Well, we're full of surprises sometimes. So our district goal 2 is really focusing on curriculum and instruction, and a lot of the things are tending to overlap. So as other individual goals, they do tend to overlap. We don't want to forget the attributes of a graduate. We really worked hard as a district to create those attributes of a graduate, the rubrics, the ICANN statements, and now how do we really embed them into everyday work that we're doing, besides obviously the curriculum and the units of study and the activities that we're doing in lessons. How else can we create, a cohesive function of the ICANN statements, just bringing them into like morning meeting, our town meetings, our STAR assemblies, really utilizing those ICANN statements and just resurfacing those things. We made them, we created them. Now, how are we implementing them? How are we using them on a daily basis? Where kids and families and staff are just, it's common language about those ICANN statements. So really embedding them throughout our school day. And I know that the Board of Ed is also, we're going to be presenting to you some of those attributes of a graduate. So that was a great addition to this year. I'm really bringing some of the ICANN statements and the attributes to you guys as well, seeing them from the kids' view as well as the staff view. I'm implementing our district science of reading, the literacy plan. So last year at the end of the school year, the district created the literacy plan for grades K-5. We're hoping to extend it to 12, but we've really been working hard on creating the literacy plan. Now, how are we rolling it out? We've created a district-wide literacy team. We've also created school-based literacy teams, and taking the information that is at the district level, bringing it down to school-based, and then vice versa, taking the information that we're working at the school level and bringing that up to the district level as well. Continuing our master class in the science of reading. So we did attend, I think it was a couple weeks ago, we attended a science of reading class. We had a wealth of information, lots of things that we get to bring back to our staff, provide professional development. As Amy said, science of reading has a lot of theory and practice. And K2, we do a lot of that. That's that whole foundation, that whole phonics, the phonemic awareness, teaching kids how to read and how to break down and segment words. So there's just so much knowledge, and we, at that meeting, we received so much information that we can bring easily back to our staff and provide our own PD to staff, which was wonderful. In regards to instructional rounds, as you remember, last year we started instructional rounds where teams of teachers went into classrooms, and the focus was on high impact strategies as well as attributes of the graduate. We're continuing those instructional rounds. They were very, very successful in the way that they were rolled out last year. So we want to continue that positivity because staff really enjoyed that. They felt that they gained a lot of knowledge and information from going in and observing other teachers. But this year, the focus would be on literacy look for. So specifically looking for comprehension, fluency, phonemic awareness, vocabulary. So right now we're working on creating a different type of rubric, similar to last year. Obviously, the focus is on literacy look fors, breaking that down, creating that rubric, sharing it with the teachers, and then rolling out those instructional rounds with that literacy-based focus. So we're really excited for that as well. As you know, we're rolling out HMH, which is a huge task for our teachers, but they've really just embraced it. It's a lot of materials. The district, we can't thank you enough for purchasing all of the materials. I don't know if there's anything else we can purchase for HMA, because I think we purchased everything, which teachers definitely appreciated. It's just, it's a lot of stuff. And they're still opening boxes and going through all of it. So again, that's probably the biggest initiative right now, is rolling that out, really looking at the assessment piece, reflecting on the units. So right now, K2, they are ending module 1 and starting module 2. So they're actually in the process of reflecting on how did module 1 go. Reviewing assessments and the data, as Amy stressed, we are still kind of looking at all the HMH data. Teachers did get a report, so it's easier for teachers to look at, but in the general scheme of things, it's kind of hard to we're kind of creating our own data. We're pulling data. That's a lot of work for us to do. If HMH already has something, certainly we would love to just be able to print that out and look at it. And not forgetting the tiered intervention. So looking at that data, what are we doing with the data? What is the data showing us? And how are we utilizing the data? We're not just giving students an assessment just to give an assessment and check off the box. how are we interpreting that data and how are we using it moving forward, especially for those who may need some interventions and services. Let's see, what else do I have? Writing curriculum. So Eric was gracious enough to attend both of one of our staff meetings and talk about curriculum and what the framework would look like. So he did talk about the UBD model, UBD number 2 model in regards to that. It's going to be hopefully the framework that we would utilize in writing both ELA and mathematics curriculum, talking to the teachers about what that would entail, what that would look like moving forward. So we're hoping to start that process come January, and Eric will be offering some support and some training and how to write the curriculum and what are the expectations of the district, what are the expectations of UBD model in general. If people aren't sure of it, I'm providing them with training before they just tell them to go out and write curriculum. That's not the best approach. So Eric, thank you for attending our meetings. And I think that might be about it.
Goal 3 and 4 are a little shorter, don't worry.
Sure.
Goal 3, I know there's a bigger picture for the district goals, but for us at the school level, it really is about providing accurate, timely, and transparent communication to all stakeholders. So improving parent communication is being done through weekly newsletters. We are both trying to focus on some of these goals of the district. For me, coming in as a new principal, I really started off by focusing every week on a different PBIS attribute, one of the HAWKS attributes, providing resources for parents that they could discuss with their kids to help them understand what those things meant. We're moving on to doing that with attributes of the graduate now. I know Rachel does something very similar. Really encouraging parent participation at town meetings and at STAR assemblies. We had a great turnout for the first one, and I think part of that was that we were doing a little more student celebration, so parents were excited to come and see that and have their children be honored. We are either have updated or in the process of updating our parent and student handbooks to make sure that all of the new information is in there. Discussions and sharing information about the new code of conduct as well, so parents feel involved in that and understanding that, providing those tools to follow through at home. And the teachers are doing a great job of keeping regular communication with families, whether it's around day-to-day behaviors, homework assignments, missing assignments, academic progress. So really keeping those connections going. And as far as with staff, we do have a new agenda that we started using this year that aligns to the UDL that we're working on with staff. So really focusing on the why are we learning what we're learning in this meeting, what and how. And trying to move away from meetings just being meetings and meetings becoming learning experiences for staff, where they're getting a ton out of the meeting, but they might also be learning some new strategies or techniques as well as they look at it through kind of a teaching and education lens, and not just we're sitting around the table to have a meeting today. So that's where we are with communication.
Goal 4, which is school climate and culture. So one of the initiatives over this summer was to create the Oxford Public School Code of Conduct and Behavioral Matrix, which has been super helpful even at the pre-K to 2 level. It's nice for staff as well as for me and parents to understand what are the expectations across the entire district pre-K to 12. So by creating that code of conduct, there's students' rights and responsibilities, parents' rights and responsibilities, and the behavioral matrix really sets up like what is the infraction, what is the severity? Is it a minor? Is it a major? What are the definitions? So your definition of inappropriate language can be different than my interpretation of inappropriate language. So it really breaks it down. And then what are some of the progressive actions that we can take as a classroom teacher, as well as an administrator? So it's been very, very helpful to have that. It's been really well received by all staff, as well as by parents. I haven't had one question, one issue about it. It is placed in our student handbooks, in our parent handbooks. It's attached to our newsletter all the time, each week. And then the rollout of the online system in order to track the behaviors. So previously we were using paper pencil tasks and we were writing out, a minor form and teachers would have to handwrite it. And now there's a spot in Power School that really tracks all of that information. So if there is a minor or a major issue, they can go on and click on the student and pops up minor form or major form, teachers fill it out and they submit it. And I automatically get an email being on my computer. So I know that something's there. really go into it and I can handle it right then and there. It really breaks it down by minor versus major. It has a issue, an area for checking off boxes for what's the consequence, what's going to happen, contacting the parents. Did you just have a discussion with them? Did they have an apology letter? Whatever it is, it's all tracked there. And then it has the administrative piece. If it's a minor, depending on what happened, I may or may not have to talk with the child. It might just be something that the classroom teacher handled, and that's fine. If it's a major, we obviously want to contact the parents. You click on contact parent, and a big screen pops up and it says, who did you contact? Which parent did you talk to? What was the date? What was the outcome? What did the parents say? So that it's just a nice way to track all of the behaviors. And then you can generate a parent letter. So immediately all of that information that you've typed in, that the teacher has typed in, you hit generate letter, and it just pops out to be this amazing letter that has all of the information on the letter. And you're able to send it home with the child. And then it's also nice because it does track that. So if you're going to a conference, or if you're going to a PPT, like a floor meeting, and you want to have some documentation, it graphs it, tracks it, you can print out a student report. It is very, very helpful. I wish we had that probably many years ago, but it's amazing and we absolutely love it. And it's being used by all staff and it's very, very effective. And parents like the generated letter because it gives them a copy, even though I always call if I send it to a child, but it's just nice to also have that letter. So it's a wonderful addition to PowerSchool. One of Quaker Farm's initiatives, I know it's a little different between our schools, is the creation of a new behavioral plan. I know that there were some issues with the clip up, clip down. We certainly embrace that and we always want to improve our practice because that's our ultimate goal. So we did really focus on natural consequences. So we did have a teacher, thank you, Dr. Miller, thank you, the board, for allowing one of our teachers to go over the summer to a responsive classroom training. It was a 3-day training. She said it was the best training she's ever done. And she's a veteran teacher. She said it was phenomenal and the whole school should be trained. And there are many schools in the state that are all responsive classroom schools. So she's brought back a wealth of knowledge. So she has shared that at staff meetings with staff, with our teachers, and they've really embraced some of the concepts behind it. We have created, each classroom has created some type of a calming corner, and it's for all students. Just if a child needs to go relax, or if there was an issue at home and they come to school and they just seem like they're really upset, and they just need some quiet time. Or if they just, they just don't feel like, working right this second and they need to go to that calming corner, and teachers call it a variety of different things. I'm just using quote calming corner. There are classrooms that have those little cute little teepees and they can go in and just have a seat and there's fidgets and fun little activities and there might be some music playing. It's just been a really nice addition and the teachers are very receptive to utilizing the natural consequences and they've come up with some great strategies. Parents have been informed, so I haven't heard any issues. So on what it seems to be going very well and teachers have really embraced it and they want more of the responsive classrooms. So I've been talking with Dr. Miller a few days ago. I said, more teachers want to. So in the back of my mind for budget season, I'm going to be planning maybe a couple more teachers, maybe at the different grade levels, a K teacher and maybe a grade 2 teacher to go to the training because it's just it's an amazing program. It's been out for a very, very long time, but teachers just really embraced it and are very excited to learn more about it because it is a lot. Continuing our star program, just always looking to revamp it and make things even more exciting for kids. So one of the things that we're working on is really trying to recreate our menu of choices. So yes, students might get 60 tickets to have lunch with a teacher or myself, just trying to always up the ante and just add different choices and just make it more exciting for those kids that have only been at Quaker for the past couple of years. It's obviously new to our kindergartners. And I know Amy is trying to reestablish her office program as well. And then the implementation of Ruler, not forgetting what we spent a lot of time working with a Ruler. How do we keep that going? The students are always checking in on the mood meter. I think it's really important, but valuing the fact that we are PBIS trained, we are Ruler trained. How do we just keep that momentum going and kind of combining all of those things into our daily practice?
Anybody have any questions?
So I'm happy that you guys are expanding PowerSchool. Have you, because my daughter was sick for a couple of days and I'm thinking about, and I look at the system, it hasn't evolved. You still get on the phone and you call out your child, you talk to the secretary. And I go, well, what if 50 kids have to call? The secretary has to have 50 conversations. So I know PowerSchool has this ability where the parents can log in and mark their child absent and put the Y, whatever you need. What would it take to turn that on to free the secretary so they can not be jammed on 50 to 100 calls in the morning,
We have to explore, see which module and we need to do for that. We can have that conversation.
that'd be great. Sorry, when you said it, it triggered a memory and I'm going, there's gotta, and I talked to my wife, she's an educator, and she's like, yeah, it's a power school module.
Yeah, the secretary.
Well, it's a special time in the morning.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely.
So when a parent sees, when you're looking at Power School with the behavioral stuff, what do they see? Do they see what you're putting in?
No, they don't see, no.
So they
only
don't-
get the letter, so they
Okay.
actually get the printout of everything that we have put in, it will then print out into a parent generated letter.
Okay,
And then I can actually type something else too, if I wanted just to put some notes about whatever, there's a section for that as well. But it's wonderful.
And so if there's bully investigations, that information can go into that kind of, so you could track it. So let's say there was a bully investigation in kindergarten, then once in second grade, and then moves over to goes. And it's like, okay, you can see the history and you're not transferring paper files.
Correct, correct. And there's also a section, when you scroll down to the bottom, there's lots of stuff that luckily knock on wood, I don't typically have to do because there's a lot of state reporting, so. If I was to typically get a suspension, you can hit the button that says report to state, so then it automatically will upload it to the state reporting as well. So I have to always make sure when I'm going on that I always click no, because the state doesn't want to know that Rachel kicked Amy under the table at the cafeteria. So I click on the no button, but you have that ability, which is fabulous because it's right there. So it really is
There's
amazing.
this discipline report that the
Yes.
state requires annually, and there's specific infractions that we have to report, and other stuff that we don't
Right on
have
there.
to.
and I like that idea with the bullying tracking, because we've consistently said that we've had some issues with bullying, and at least this way, that it tracks the child through the entire.
It makes for a great conversation piece when you do have to have those conversations with parents, well, I can see here that back in September, we talked about this and this was the consequence. And now here we are in October and it happened again. And now here we are in December and it happened again. And then you can see why the progression is happening and it makes sense to parents. And it also makes sense to kids. With the older kids, I pulled out the behavior matrix before and said, see, this is where you are right now. But if this continues, where are you going to end up? And they get that. So it helps us show that we're doing that progression. And I think it helps the kids and parents understand that we're not just randomly picking, I'm in a bad mood today, so you get an attention. It's showing the clear progression.
And over time, as students go from grade to goes to middle school to high school, there's consistency there. In the past, there was isolated pocket, each school did something different. Now we're talking the same language and students are gonna have the same expectation as they go through schools.
That history goes from time of kindergarten all the way up.
Which is important.
Yeah, I'm so glad to see you guys are working together and bridging the gap between buildings. It's been somewhat of an issue over the years and, it's gonna be nice. I hope that you eventually do the middle school and it just keeps going on up. So that's really important. So thank you.
The team has been great to work with since I've been here. Very, very happy.
Anybody else have any questions? We very much appreciate it, and it's wonderful to see you guys working together, and we appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The newscast.
I know.
News
Our
at
news team. Okay, special education update.
Somewhere in the room. Anyone?
Stay right there.
Wherever you'd like to be.
We haven't, we're such a large space, we needed to be able to project out, now we're self-contained.
So I'm sure okay with me.
We're
Casual, I
fine.
guess. Everyone has a copy of the report.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be here again for a second year. Definitely learning Oxford and there's a lot of work to be done and I'm very excited about that work to be done. So we kicked it off this year. I am happy, very, very happy to report that our department here in Oxford is fully staffed. We have everyone in every position. We have a position that's open, but they are starting at the first week of November. So we are completely staffed. We are able to quickly find a replacement as someone had left, which is not the case in surrounding towns. So we are very fortunate here to have a full staff and we have some great additions. We have some veteran teachers that have joined us as well as new teachers, which is exciting as well to start their career here. In terms of the BCBA services, we are contracting our services this year through ACES, which is really helpful for us because as a small district with one BCBA, there's often
couple things happening where it's hard for one person to manage, so we get the backing of the ACES clinical team. There was, an incident where the BCBA was out and the clinical staff, stepped right in to help us, so it's been really great having that extra support when needed. We are in year 2 of the Connecticut CT SEDS implementation for IEPs, which will be a primary focus again this year because it's not fully, fully functioning. We are running into kind of things here and there and things pop up and we kind of are working through them as they come up. So even today, someone came to me, said, oh, this isn't working, checked it out, sure enough, it is an error. So we're trying to just kind of troubleshoot as they come up. So it will be a focus. As the state is also turning on different features of the system, so that kind of tends to put some potential risks as they turn on new features. Last year, we established the Special Education Task Force, which had representatives from each of the buildings. And one of the major outcomes that we did at the end of last year was creating a PBT meeting agenda that's consistent across all of the schools. So parents can know what to expect from school to school because the agendas will be similar in terms of the process. And that's just helping support families as well as our schools to maintain consistency. According to our data, currently we have 280 students. That includes some of our students that are outplaced, as well as students that are in choice schools, such as Nanawag. We do their IEPs. So it is a slight decrease from the end of last year, but we do have 9 referrals pending currently. And then we have the 15 out of district placements, which was one we had talked about at the end of last year. There was kind of a request. It just was the one and not the 2 that we had talked about. We had 9 students move out of district. We had 11 new students to district, and we have 5 students that were special education students that went to technical high schools. There was a question too, I think someone had asked me about the excess cost report, which Howard can present at the next finance meeting. He has more of the details and the breakdown of that. Pretty consistent. I won't go school by school, but pretty consistent numbers in terms of each of the schools in terms of students. So again, the CT SEDS we're focusing on, we're going to be consistent with the Connecticut recommended implementation plan, making sure that we're calibrating among schools and with staff, doing check-ins with them. It's part of our monthly meeting. We're always discussing, and then I have a weekly some more that goes out that updates them on any issues that are happening, and then just kind of best practices for implementation. Highlighting our specialized programs. So we're very fortunate to have specialized programs here in Oxford that help support students staying within the district and not going to outplacements. So we have the early elementary comprehensive learning program and the comprehensive learning program. And these are the programs there's one at the elementary school and then one at the middle school. And they provide higher to adult student ratio, but they develop communication skills, with picture exchange and talking devices. We are doing a lot of assistive technology lately, which is wonderful to see. And they're also supported with the higher adult support that they can have increased time with non-disabled peers. So they're in the classroom a lot more, which is great to see. Where in an outplacement program, they wouldn't have that access to the general classroom. They work on functional communication training, and there's an emphasis, and I'll get to that in a little bit, about developmental teaching. We're going to do some new initiatives. And then at the middle school, it's wonderful. We talked about it last year in the curriculum. We have a life skills leadership course where there are model peers and they are planning activities, doing life skills. So that's really great to see. And everyone's really loving it. I guess they're planning a Halloween party, so I got invited today. So they're in charge of doing the budgeting, planning, decorations, things like that. And then we have consistency with teachers in those programs as well. Last year we had mid-year changes for both of those programs, and this year we have some great staff in there. So it's been consistent. Our connections program at the high school currently has 8 students, but we are fully utilizing the credit recovery in the afternoon tutorial section. So they have, a combination of students in those programs as well. We did decrease that program by 1 paraprofessional. So it is 1 teacher, 1 paraprofessional. And then our community explorations program, I'm hoping to get them to come do the coffee cart, one of the board meetings. We were discussing it earlier. They're doing a great job with the life-centered transition curriculum. All of their goals and objectives are aligned to that and aligned to the Connecticut core transition skills. In the report on the last page, there's a whole list of things that they are engaged in. So they're doing great work. And the teacher also has her V license, so she'll be able to guide them in the community now, which is great. Now to the special ed department goals. So not a lot of change from last year, just because obviously Connecticut, the CT says is really important that we're implementing that and creating quality IEPs. So definitely a focus on that, making sure all of our staff are trained, knowing how to communicate their needs and support. So I do a lot of training with them, just hands-on. They're coming here, we're going through it on the screen, so it's been really great. The second goal is, supporting those specialized programs. So I am working with CES and Trumbull to provide some training for developmental therapy and teaching. So taking a developmental approach to supporting students. So they'll be doing some training on the assessment in December. And then looking at some curriculums aligned to Common Core to help support those students that have needs greater than what our curriculum can support. And then just supporting, our administrators and our specialized instruction to strengthen and improve our programming for all of our students in special education. Last year, we did have a focus on reading, which is still continuing and will always be a focus, but also shifting that to the math supports and finding different resources for that as well. So far this year, we've done training for structured literacy under Spire and Language Live. So Spire is a structured literacy program that helps support reading for our younger students for intervention and special education. And Language Live helps the middle school, high school population with those same skills, but in a different format and accessing higher level text. I kind of skipped, sorry. I do want to create a paraprofessional task force like the special education to make sure that we have consistent communication and just that we're addressing their needs throughout the district. Still working on defining what our standalone curriculum looks like in the standalone classes for middle school and high school, and making sure that students are appropriately placed in those programs as we think of least restrictive environment and making sure that they are in the right classes versus co-taught or the standalone, and then really defining what that scope and sequence looks like for both of those classes. This year too, we also initiated, it's not a course per se, but we have a cohort of 5 seniors that receive their transition goals and objectives in a specific class. So they focus on interest surveys, letters of recommendation, looking at college applications, looking at trade schools. They do mock interviews, they build their resumes. So it's a big focus. It's one direct class for them. I spoke about the developmental therapy training. Continuing to increase our job shadowing is something we're always working on. And with Mrs. Collins having that license, we'll be able to actually utilize that a lot more in the community. And then continuing to provide parent training opportunities. So I know there's a question about last year's survey, which I included in here. So we did a training on all the top 4 areas that parents wanted, doing another survey, seeing what they want, and then providing that level of service and training. I also have volunteered and do one-to-one trainings with parents on the assistive technology tools. So if anybody wants those, just reach out to me and we can sit down and use them. I also included the annual performance report. It is from 2020-21. It was, and if you notice, it was just released in August of 2023. So they're a little behind. So when you're kind of looking at this, please remember that this was prior for me being here, but this was also the transition year where we were hybrid. So a lot of these chronic absenteeism data, the pre-K programming looked totally different in those times. And that's kind of the areas where we scored lower. And I hear that we're supposed to be getting our newer data soon, so I will share that out once we get that.
Anybody have any questions? I just have one. Last year, at the end of the year, we had 28 referrals pending. Can you just give us an idea? Did the kids move forward? Because the numbers seem to be flat.
I can definitely take a look at that point in time and see how many. I would say, you're right, the numbers have been consistent, so I don't think as many have qualified as, which we're still working on the SRBI process throughout the district to make sure that we're really identifying and putting students through referral that should be going through referral. We don't ever want to test a student that we don't suspect, a disability. But I can definitely get you more specifics on that actual number.
Thank you.
Is Spire like a Wilson or Gillingham or?
Yeah,
kind of-
it kind of follows the same progression. So it is a 10-step. It follows structured literacy. It builds, it's very similar to both programming. It does have the multi-sensory approach.
And back to the whole, I know a lot of your time spent on CP
So
beds for, quality IEPs. What percentage do you think your teacher and staff time is spent remediating issues related to the product being poorly released by the state? Instead of being spent on kids?
They're utilizing a lot more time than they have in the past,
Yeah.
completing release, or troubleshooting or calling.
And this problem is not unique this year. When I talk to my colleagues in other districts, this is a problem every single district is facing. Every superintendent, every month, we're just constantly talking about the amount of time that teachers are spending on their IEPs on CT sets. It's a time hog.
We should have a bunch of representation in all the districts, well, the city.
Even as a parent, it's not fun to use.
No.
Like, it's not fun either.
Is there hope in sight, like this big patch that's coming that will fix all of it?
Thanks, state.
I know. There's software people need, so.
So the state, there was a bid and it is through a company called PCG. Which my understanding is PCG has developed Easy IEP, but we have adjusted it to fit what Connecticut's needs are in terms of IEP compliance. So I think that's where some of the glitches come in. Because I think that we're not utilizing it in the same way that the other states.
Custom build.
Is this something that the State Board of Education is pushing out or is this another task force / subcommittee that oversees? this?
Everyone in the state has to.
It was required.
It was a
Who
requirement,
made the requirement?
the state.
State of Connecticut.
Department of
Education.
Department
Education.
of Education.
Yeah.
And law, and as a superintendent group, we advocated, we told the state, wait a year, pilot it for a year. Work out the bugs,
Mhm.
delay,
Always.
and they basically said, no, we're not doing that, we're implementing this right now.
I mean, I would have no problem with you writing a letter on behalf of this board expressing our dissatisfaction with it. I mean, and sending it to them, whether it amounts to anything or not, at least they understand where we're coming from, so.
We'll start like one of those letters that can go to other districts and everyone signs on to it.
Yeah, I mean, our staff have done a really great job
Yes.
with the issues.
Oh, of course.
But time takes away from resources.
Yes.
and it's just-
Just working with kids.
I'm not about that.
And I meet with the teacher union once a month. And this is for most months, an agenda item of teachers having difficulty with CT sets and the amount of time that they spent on it. It's a product that has been flawed from day one. They've had stuff fixed, but there's continuous issues with it. And it's just not a perfect product because it is so custom designed. And they didn't have a chance to really work out the bugs first.
And like I said, when they turn other features on, it then causes another bug, and then when that bug is fixed, it's kind of a snowball effect, and you never know until you encounter the issue that it is an issue. And I mean, we are communicating with parents, there are issues. I'm sorry, we can't finalize it on time. We give them a draft if we're able to generate one.
If you're able to.
It does give you great alerts, though, if you didn't fill something out and it went to your spam folder, like, oh, hey, you need to do this, and it's like, oh, there was that. And so the system will alert you to as a parent, like, certain things need to get done that you just spam that you found.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, we send her, like, make sure you check your spam folder that you're utilizing, yeah. And then we can push notifications if they need to. The other tricky thing about the parent portal is, I know what gets automatically pushed, as they say there, but I can't actually see what your parent portal looks like. So I can't go into, like, I can't say,
She can't go into portal mode, but I can give you my password and you can just.
so I can't see, like, if you're saying, oh, that document's there, I don't know whether that document is there or not. It's supposed to automatically go there, but I can't see each individual student parent portal to say, oh, yes, that document's sitting there, or no, it's not. So that's hard to help families.
It'll alert you, like, you're 10 days overdue, or like, you didn't do this, and it's like, well, wait, what? What did I miss?
Yeah, and then we don't get the alerts on our end, so.
So it's like, this is overdue, and it's like, what was overdue?
Anybody have any more questions?
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
The four of you, I think, it's, we would like to.
Or if you want, we have a snow bid project that I don't.
It's gonna be stimulating. Thank you for your effort.
Yes, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you, guys. I hope you're not here too long.
Have a good night.
Good night, thank you guys very much. Night.
She was like.
Okay, our next. item- She could stay.
Good night.
I know you did have fun.
Good shot.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is snow plow.
Yeah, so last fall we went to bid, we did a 1-year contract, that contract had a optional renewal on our side to renew it for year 2 and year 3. That year 2 renewal would have been $92,000 if we renewed it for year 2. That original contract was all of our properties that were on, which included the municipality where we were down about that property. So we reached out to our vendors and what would our contract would be if we took that property out and we added on our small parking lot on both sides and the driveway. What we presented back to us was an $82,000 contract, which is actually less than the year 2 contract would have been. So what I'm requesting the board allowed us to do is to take the year 2 option with the new quote that they're giving to us, which is exchanging the property from Municipal Annex with the 2 properties that we have here. Once again, the value is less than the original, would have been, so it's to our benefit. We did do a soft bid with another vendor, and what they came back to us was more than this.
Make a motion to be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Very anti-climactic.
I know, that's okay.
What's happening with Central, not that we need to know, the old central office? The city is just gonna take care of that, are they?
They're gonna take care of that. Look, if we do still have CP still there, but if we have a snow day, the kids are not gonna go there anyway. And if it's delayed opening, they're not going there straight there. And if we do need to do a little bit of plowing, we have a truck with a plow. So we could go in there, just plow what we need and leave.
Also, are we letting the town know that we're,
We let them, we met with them back in the summertime. We told them that this is not our property anymore, that it's their maintenance at this point.
Did we put it in an email?
We met with the first, I don't know if we put it in an email, we met with them and.
Just as a reminder,
Yeah, we can-
coming into snow
Yeah.
season.
Especially now that we've accepted the
Yes.
bid,
Yes.
our bid is not center school. Oh, center school. Our annex building is now called. Okay, so report of the superintendent.
Yeah,
Dr. Miller.
okay. So I'm gonna start with a couple updates that the facility committee heard earlier this evening, the facility committee, so we done it for a few people. I had a pretty significant meeting this morning with ONG and Bob Sy, who's the chair of the building committee, to talk about the ongoing challenges at the middle school. I'm not gonna go into extensive detail, I'm just gonna tell you just what the highlights were. As a reminder, the major challenges have been roof leaks, window leaks, water coming in from the windows, water coming in from the side of the building, in the front parking lot area into the psychologist area, which then is now going into the music room downstairs. So it's 3 different types of water coming into the building. HVAC issues, which is a combination of design problems of the system and us not maintaining it properly. So it's a combination of the 2. The baseball field flooding and not having the proper drainage. And then the music room not having the proper acoustics in there. Those have been the major. And then the one issue that was relatively new was the fire suppression. Which caused the flood of the main office lobby and then down to the library. What ONG committed to was to come back here with the right vendors to look at the roof, to look at the side of the building, to look at the HVAC of the building, to look at the drainage of the baseball field, to go back to the original study of the building for the acoustics of the music room. So they've now committed to us to take a look at these challenges that are in front of us to try and help us identify how we get these fixed, whether it be warranty work or holding the vendors to the fire that they had commissioned a building that should have been working, that's now not working the way that's supposed to be. I'm gonna stay with facility stuff at the moment. Some positive, very extremely positive news on the front of the HVAC for this building. Deb and I attended with a number of parents on the joint Board of Selectmen Board of Finance meeting last Wednesday. They did not vote in the meeting, but they committed to moving the project forward. That commitment came with required changes to the contract with AirTemp. And the Board of Finance, or sort of Board of Selectmen scheduled a meeting for 4 o'clock this past Monday, which I attended, and there's another parent that attended with me as well. They approved the contract. They've now set a town public hearing for the November 13th and a town meeting to vote on the project for November 15th. The reason it has to go to a town vote is that there is leftover money from the bond project in the middle school. And they're looking to use the leftover money from that bond project to pay for the HVAC work that the town is using for this project here at GOES. Remember that that we applied and received a grant from the state. So the state is paying for a significant portion, but we do owe a portion of it from the local tax base here. So the town is using leftover funds from the bond project. The bond allows that, but the bond requires that a town meeting take place that authorizes the use of those funds. So from what I understand, that meeting is November 15th at 6:30 p.m. And we need to make sure as many parents and members of our stakeholder group go out to support this as possible, because the Eversource grant that this is tied to requires that a significant portion of the building be done by next November. And the entire project needs to be done by next December, or we lose the state funding. The project itself is a 9-month project from the date that they start. The vendor, which is AirTemp, is ready to start. They believe that they could hit the ground running by mid-December. At the latest, they have the equipment ready to go. So as long as this gets approved in the November 15th meeting, we should be good to go for the project to start in December and have this done in time for the deadlines that we have next fall. And as a reminder, the scope of the project was for the work to be done after hours, not while school's in session. So this is not to impact the school day. The work is being done in the evenings and the weekends, and should not and will not impact when school's in session. We'll see work taking place during the summer months, but when school's in session, that work should be done in the evenings and the weekends.
Do we know how much money is left over from the middle school?
I believe that was
Need for the other project?
Certainly.
2 million.
And
Close
did
to
we,
2 million.
I mean. And what do we need? X grant? Do we know potentially for the new HVAC system?
Don't have the numbers in front of me.
1.8.
Yeah,
Because I'm
I
just
think it
like,
was a
we're gonna
1.8.
go after ONG and their subcontractors, and there'll be some rulings that, yeah, maybe there's bad design, maybe bad install, but. Some of the stuff might not be, can't prove install, can't prove design, and now we're, what do you get 12 months on a warranty? Now we're looking at $100,000. And I'm just wondering, are we gonna be back now, or how do we pay for that?
I don't know that we can use that to repair.
I don't think so. No,
I think
no.
you can use the grant to do
It's
a
all from here.
project, but I don't think you can do it to
Oh,
do.
right,
right.
Remediation.
Which is why I think that they're holding the money for this type of project to be done. On a very positive front, I included this in a press release last week. The state of Connecticut over the summer announced a high dosage tutor grant. And specifically designed for students that needed math support in grades 6th through 9th grade. So seeing that we did have an area of need, and I'm of the belief that if there's a grant out there, let's apply for it, because the worst that happens is we get turned down. And we applied for it. Eric was one of the first things I tasked him with when he was hired. He put the grant together and he met with vendors. The way that the grant was designed by the state, they applied research that what high dosage tutoring is 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week, with this teacher to student ratio of no more than 4 students per teacher or tutor. So the grant is designed to support 96 students. That's what we qualified from the state. It's $144,440. I believe that's the exact dollar amount that we got. We are looking to start the end of November, assuming the state gives us the go ahead to go. I did put that date in the press release. Eric is attending a meeting with the other district that got awarded the grant in a few days for the details on actually what we need to do in order to begin the process. But I'm excited about this because it is an area that anytime that we can bring additional high qualified teachers into work with our students is a benefit. And these are specific students. When you take a look at where the areas of needs are, our math data has not been the greatest, especially in the middle school years. And this really can allow us to focus on the students that need the support. And it also allows us to take a look at a model of instruction, and if this works, then we can build out and build a foundation of how we could modify our existing infrastructure to align with how this research shows that students are supporting this type of learning. So I'm very excited about that. The other grant that we received this summer was the dual credit grant, which was the high school grant, which is to build a pathway of courses for students that would qualify for high school credit and college credit simultaneously. We've designed a survey to go out to students in middle school and high school. The survey is slightly different for middle school students through high school in 10th grade. These are students that would benefit from the pathway. So we're asking them what their interest would be if they took a pathway. We're asking students in 11th grade and 12th grade what the pathways would have been if the option were in front of them, to find out what they would have been interested in. So it's 2 different sets of data that we're looking to collect. We're also looking to collect data from high school and middle school parents to see what their choices are. We don't want to build something that they don't want to participate in. We want to build a pathway or 2 that they have interest in. So those surveys are getting ready to go out to collect that data. I'd like to shout out to the parents at all levels. If you take a look at what's happening from athletics, you have all of our senior nights taking place at the end of the end of the fall season. But without the parent support, the booster club, the parents and the athletic teams, these students would not have opportunities to celebrate. Last Friday was the swim and dive program, senior night. The previous Friday was the girls volleyball senior night. Last night was girls soccer. Tomorrow night is boys soccer, and Friday is football and with cheer. So it is a season of celebration, and all that wouldn't take place with the parents coming out and providing the infrastructure to make that happen. And we have a wonderful PTO, and they just ran a book fair, or fall book fair at the 2 elementary schools and the middle school, which is very successful. Last week, I don't have the numbers yet, but you could see the students were really excited and the parents were here supporting. It was great to get the parents into the building because they're here actually purchasing the books with their kids, and it's just a wonderful sight to see. We'll see lots of parents next week. It's the Halloween costume parade at Quaker Farms. It's up in the afternoon. Unfortunately, I had a doctor's appointment at the same time, so I'm going to miss it 2 years in a row. But we have a phenomenal time where the kids get to march around with their parents in the costumes that were involved in that. I put in my newsletter to all parents and to staff last week that we had migrated to My School Bucks this year for an online payment system. We've had some parent pushback on that related to the transaction fees. So we're kind of hitting a pause button as we study what the best course is moving forward, so that the financial penalty doesn't go to parents, so that we can figure out a way to move forward with this in the best way. Anytime you implement something from a policy perspective and an implementation standpoint, there's unintended consequences that we might not have thought about. And this is one that we're going to take a look at the finance committee in a couple of weeks. And we can take a look at the policy standpoint and see if there's any tweaks needed to make the policy itself. And we're looking at different vendors to see if there's any options out there that would be more beneficial to our parent school district. And that is my report for a few things. Thank you.
Okay. Before the chair or designee, well, Pam stole my thunder. So I was just going to remind the board, it's in our newsletter, but November 10th is the Veterans Dinner, and I plan on being there to do whatever you need me to do, Miss Aldridge. And I think it's a wonderful thing, and I appreciate you getting the kids involved in doing what you're doing. And I know the high school's put a lot of effort behind it, so I just wanted to say thank you. Committee reports, facilities, Joe?
We had a meeting tonight and, Rob, Dr. Miller already, made mention of some major stuff going on. Just some highlights. We had a, oil leak at Oxford High School that impacted the girls' locker room and has since then been remediated, cleaned up, and some improvements are going to be made and some repairs made to that situation so it doesn't happen again. Some middle school, some other facility updates, the middle school, I think Rob touched on that. They had a burner, Quaker Farms go down, which has been repaired. A boiler was repaired, and a motor rebuilt on the boiler at the high school. Mike D'Agostino let us know also that, we had the water filter that we put in on our backflow preventer after the fire. Seymour had a water main break and the filter actually caught all the sediment that normally would have just gone into our system. So preventive stuff like that and improvements actually saved us down the road again. So there was Stephanie, if you're listening, the playground stuff that's going in was ordered, and they're gonna be working, getting some designated area. It's the Great Oak one, right?
Yeah.
The Great Oak area where some material has to be brought in, and but that's gonna be going. There was some delays in shipping and stuff, and we're looking in anticipation of somewhere around November 15th. So, so I don't think I have anything else.
Anything about the bathroom?
Oh, yeah, so forever the subject of the bathroom committee finally got approved by the Board of Selectmen, so those, we're gonna be moving forward on that very soon, hopefully. We're very anxious, the parents will be very happy to break ground on that. And, you know, improvements in the water lines that we put in a couple of years ago set the platform for this, the springboard, and I just want to thank everybody who's been instrumental in finally getting this thing going, so the term of porta potty will never have to be heard again at the high school, so that'll be good. So, and I'm also want to thank Dr. Miller, Anthony, and his staff for the planning of the Derby Oxford football game. Is going to be, you know, an annual event, and we're going to be trying to keep that as a pinnacle for the football season every year as an annual event. They treated us very good when we went down yet last year and with the ceremony, so we're going to return a favor, and we're actually trying, since we can't get the bathrooms down there, we're gonna look at we're gonna be getting some food and get a trailer bathroom facility in there, so this way here the dignitaries and guests to our facility don't have to use the porta potty. So
Do we know when the game is? What's the date of the
It's in the
game?
morning.
it's Thanksgiving.
And we,
Oh.
10 a.m.
we are working the details for a breakfast, like they hosted us last year. Hosted breakfast for
Yeah, it was
our
wonderful.
boards, their boards, and dignitaries on both sides, so we're working the details for
Yeah.
that.
But you know, it's a great thing that we kind of, you know, we're gonna keep pushing forward. So we did talk about also some security update stuff, and I don't want to go into detail about that, but we got some quotes for that. Then we're gonna have to put into some capital purchase arenas. So we're moving forward. It's nice to hear that, you know, now we're getting Quaker Farms school on the horizon to upgrade that heating and air conditioning issues. So before the high school starts breaking down, so which is already started. So,
Won't be long.
please, we're well aware. So, but thank you, everybody.
Okay. Okay, I have curriculum, which is next. We had our meeting on the 16th. We had a draft. It was great because Eric brought us a draft of our assessment report that he's recommending. So we talked about some tweaks and some changes that we would like to see, and we would, he was a great discussion about it. He also talked about the curriculum goals. If anybody wants to see the draft assessment report, it's on the curriculum agenda, so it's there if anybody wanted to see it. So that was pretty, we talked about the dual credit grant. And we also talked about the parent and student surveys that we are working on getting a vendor to do our surveys and come up with some bids and quotes on that. So that's in the process, and we hope to have that ready for the next curriculum meeting. And that's it. Policy.
Okay, the committee has met twice since our last full board meeting. We're moving right along. For your consideration tonight, there's a first read of the administration of student medications in schools. It's a model policy that was put forward by Shipman and Goodwin. It took us a minute to have our medical director go over it. He's reviewed it line by line, and he's recommended that we adopt it without any changes. So please take a look at it, read it over. If you have any questions, let us know, and hopefully we can improve it at the next meeting.
What did we have, Nicole, before, something similar?
I'm gonna defer to Rob on that. I mean, I think we did have something, but I can't tell you chapter and verse what's different.
Yeah, this was an updated version based upon legislation, mostly dealing with opioids and Narcan and changes related to that.
But in spirit, we had something very similar.
Yeah.
I think it was very brief. I don't think it was very detailed.
Your parents to do this unless of an emergency. blah, 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 blah.
Submission for it.
Yeah.
It's also sad that even at as low a level as Quaker, they need to be trained on Narcan. It's frightening.
Yeah. it's scary.
But it's not, it's trained not only for students, but also if there is an adult that's also overdosing.
Still very sad.
Very sad all the way around.
Yeah.
Oh, anything else? Nicole? That's it. Thank you. Finance.
We ended up not having a meeting in September.
Last month, last week.
Yeah, it was last week.
Last week.
What month is it? It's whatever. It's one of those months. We didn't have a meeting. We're looking to put something on with the election and the fact that 2 of the 3 members are one's up for reelection, and 1 is leaving the board. We might wait until after the election to have our next finance 1 meeting to make sure that we're moving forward with the full team. So as of the moment, no updates.
Okay. Liaison reports, I'll just tell you, Rob talked about it, PTO had their book fair. It was very sketchy for them because they had last year planned on going to a different vendor. And between last year and now, the vendor went out of business, so they had to go back to Scholastic. And I know that I think they overwhelmed Quaker Farms with books, and there was so much there, but great thank you to all the parents who came and helped, and the PTO has done an amazing job with that book fair every year, so. That's all I have.
And the PTO.
Oh,
meeting is
PTO meeting is
Thursday.
Thursday,
Good job, Walter.
yeah, they always. And you know, it's funny because there's just a few people that are doing. So I put together boograms for them. They're doing boograms at the middle school. So I'm missing my days of being creative. So I put together boograms for them this week. Yeah, I do. I miss it. I miss it. Okay, any other liaison reports? No, I'm good. Okay. So I'm gonna make a motion that the board enter into executive session to discuss the proposed successor collective bargaining agreement between the Oxford Board of Education and the Oxford Education Association, and invite into executive session Dr. Miller.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
7:49.
I am going to end.
Good luck with the election, those of you.
You too.